Hi everyone, Usha Pandit, your Mind Springs English teacher. Today I am doing a bit on spoken English but also written English because they are simply flip sides of the coin. I am going to do with you the language of fear. I have courses and books that you will find on my website, so please go and take a look. Writing with Ease and Language with Ease, which are books that have got plenty of vocabulary. So today we are going to look at the vocabulary of fear. If you are coming here for the first time, make sure you subscribe, press the bell notification, write a comment to cheer me up, and also make sure that you share the video. Okay, so let's start. So they say that the only thing you need to fear is fear, isn't it? Fear, the fear vocabulary is so good because you can put it, of course, in speech, because you can be afraid of something very simple. You can be afraid of something terrible. So you can be afraid of the ridiculous and the profound. So if there is a snake in the room, you can be afraid, and if there is a rope on the floor and you think it's a snake, then you can be afraid also, right? So when you find out it's a rope, of course, you laugh hysterically, but then that was also fear of a different kind. That was fear of fear. So let's see, we use the simple words like it made me frightened, it made me scared. You know, you use language like this when you talk, very colloquial, very simple words that don't seem to have any degrees of, you know, any comparative degrees or any intensity of fear. So you don't really know when you say I was so scared, you don't know how frightened you were. I have no idea, because everybody says they seem to be frightened of everything. If they hear a voice, they are frightened. If it rains heavily, you are frightened. This is no go, right? So we need to be very accurate and precise in how we express our feelings and emotions. Fear is a negative emotion, right? Let me tell you that you are likely to use these words if you are writing a ghost story or a horror story, or you are writing about an incident where you want to create a certain kind of setting, or you are writing an answer in which you have to express fear of some kind, either in the character or in your own responses to the story. In all these areas, you will need this vocabulary. So make sure you have it in your bag. You have, and like I said, the situations can be anything from a plane hijack where a guy gets up and says boom, or doesn't do the boom but just raises his gun, and you get everybody there simply quails with fright. See this word, quails with fright, right? Or it can be a ghost story or something that is unknown. Now this is fear of the unknown. When you do a ghost story or you are thinking about a ghost, the fear is not so much of the ghost itself. I have never heard of a ghost strangling anybody, but still people are afraid of ghosts, and that is mainly because you are afraid of the unknown. The possibilities of what the ghost might do to you is, you have not even expressed it in your imagination, and therefore it is bigger than you, bigger than the universe, that fear. So that's one fear. If someone creeps up behind you and goes boo, there also you are afraid. So it's not the same fear, right? The fears are different. So you've got that. Then people are afraid of spiders, of cockroaches, of worms. They're afraid of moths and butterflies also. They're afraid of ants, some of them. So you can be afraid of anything. Size doesn't matter. People are just petrified. Petrified. That's a word for being scared. And they will flee. What is the reaction? To take flight. So they say when you are faced with fear, there are two reactions, fight or flight, right? So you either take a broom and hit the cockroach, which is I'll fight you, or you run away out of the building, which is flight, okay? Now people are wondering, why is she doing so much? Why is she talking so much about these things? I'm giving you a bit of general knowledge, bit of yarn, because in the English paper, you know, recently the CBSE English paper, children could not understand the words and they couldn't understand the contexts because they never heard it before. So, when teachers teach, it's very important to give this extra gyan, like the one that I am doing, like salt and pepper, throw it around here and there. The other thing you are afraid is fire. Someone says fire and shouts fire, then there is panic and people are running from here to there. Panic is a fear word and they try to escape, right? And in that need to escape, they might actually do themselves greater harm. Or a terror attack. So, in the middle of a big square, public square, if you hear a couple of big bangs, people then just screech and they panic. They don't even know what it is, but you have what we call a stampede sometimes if it's in a closed space, and that causes more deaths than the actual bang itself, which might have come out of a cracker. So, these are some of the tragedies that we've seen. Then of course, you are afraid of nightmares. Nightmares are those horrible dreams that come to you quite uninvited at night, and that causes panic attacks and you wake up sweating in a cold sweat. See, that's a term I would use for fear. You wake up with a wildly beating heart. So, you've got this body language of fear. Body language of fear is very important in order to write your story. I've got a series called Empowering English, which is my main textbook going from grade 1 to grade 8. That has the body language of fear in one of the lower grades, basically allowing children to write about what happened to them. So, you don't just say I was scared, which is a boring story, but if you say my heart was palpitating, if you say rivulets of sweat rolled down the sides of my face, my hands were clammy, my knees were knocking against one another, I could feel my skin grow cold. If I talk like this, now I am showing you that I am afraid. Show, don't tell. Saying I was scared does not move anybody. When you write descriptions like this, I can then in sympathy feel my own heart beating fast, right? So, that's why it's important. So, there are degrees, as I said. If you say I was alarmed, it's not very high. On the degree of fear from 1 to 3, it's probably at a 1, very simple level. And then you can go up, or you can say I was agitated. Agitated is just annoyed, angry, it is not even fear. But agitation is one of those things. Or you say I was nervous. Nervous means I don't know what will happen, but it's a very low degree of panic. Okay? Or you can say I was intimidated by somebody. Intimidated means I was just, that person growls and therefore there is a certain caution with which I look at him. Or you can say I was jumpy. So, if somebody came and said boo, you would jump like this, or you would get startled. All these are low degrees of fear. Or you might say I was apprehensive. So, after I heard that noise, I was apprehensive. I was a bit worried about whether it will happen again. Apprehension is another part of fear. So, all these are pretty mild. And then you have the more, the fear affects people differently. So, you've got words like panic stricken, I told you, petrified, I told you. They were fearful about. Fearful is another word. Horrified, terrified, all these are fear words. And then you have words that are, so fear affects you and you want to run, that is one, you want to escape. But sometimes when the fear is acute, you go stiff. So, you say I was scared stiff, I was immobilized with fear. See, all that shows complete stiffness. I froze with horror. These are all lovely things to write in your essays. You will get terrific marks and you will be very happy with your writing. So, I froze with terror, with fear or with horror. I broke into a cold sweat, that is body language. I felt jittery, and sometimes you go stiff and sometimes you start trembling with fear, or you become jittery with fear. So, all these are again words that will show fear. You were scared to death, you were scared witless, you were scared out of your mind, you were scared All of these words that show extreme fear and panic. Shaking with fear, trembling with fear, I told you, shivering with fright. Okay, not shivering with fear, but shivering with fright. You experience dread. Trembling is also seen as quivering, quivering with fear. That is where you start shaking, right? All these are body responses and they are excellent ways of expressing fear. You broke into a cold sweat, I told you, and sometimes you are speechless with fear. So you want to shout and nothing seems to be emerging from your mouth, no sound, because you are speechless with fear. So you can have that too. Now, these are the very many ways in which you can express fear. Remember, the situation is where you will use the word. So if somebody just comes and says boo to you, it's not the same as a terror attack. So I've given you plenty of words. I hope I have not daunted you. What does daunting mean? Daunting means also to frighten you. I hope I have not spooked you. So therefore, make sure that you make this list and start using it in your writing and you will do fabulously well. Use it in your speech also and you will impress people. So once again, until we meet again, keep smiling.